Hello and a very warm welcome to today's webinar, Therefore Security and Compliance. We're going to be talking about how Therefore Security features can help your business achieve compliance with all kinds of standards, including ISO, GDPR, and DORA. If you have any questions or comments, please ask them in the Q&A. In your Zoom controls, I will do my best to answer any questions that you will have. As I get them, I will monitor the Q&A throughout the course of the webinar and do my best to see the questions and answer them. My name is Jennifer Schmidt. Most of you on the call already probably know me. I'm a member of Therefore's digital engagement team. And amongst my responsibilities, I also create e-learning content and I conduct and research webinars. So like I said in the beginning, the agenda for today's webinar is all about compliance and security features in Therefore. We're going to be talking all about the security features that Therefore has, and then I'll be introducing our newest certification, which is ISO 27001, as well as talking about the GDPR and DORA and NIS2, which are other standards within the EU. Now, my name is Jennifer, and I am working for Therefore Corporation in the digital engagement team. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal professional, obviously. So the information that I'm presenting to you today is correct to the best of my knowledge. However, you should always consult with legal counsel prior to making any changes in regards to compliance with local or international law. I am not providing legal advice. So that's just a disclaimer that I want to get out at the beginning, just to avoid any misunderstandings. So what is compliance? Compliance very simply means that a company adheres to the applicable rules and laws. This includes both country-specific laws and requirements from regulatory authorities as well as internal company directives. Basically, it means you're following the law. Now, at Therefore, we have two different entities when we talk about Therefore. We have the company, Therefore Corporation, which is a business headquartered here in Austria, which is an EU member state. And we have a product called Therefore Information Management Software. Therefore Corporation, the company, needs to comply with laws and regulations that are in Austria as well as the European Union. The product that we create, our software, is a tool that businesses from around the world can use to help them achieve compliance. It sounds obvious when I say it like that, but I know from experience over the many years that I've been working at Therefore, because the name Therefore applies both to the software and the company, there's always a little bit of confusion. So I've created a kind of funny analogy to help you illustrate this point and kind of clarify what is the tool and what is the actual standard, you know? And so here is my analogy for compliance. So imagine there was a standard for chocolate cakes. So maybe a whole bunch of bakeries got together and said, we want to clarify what does it mean to have a chocolate cake, because we want customers to really understand what are they going to, when they go and order a chocolate cake, they want to know what they're going to get, right? So this standard that they've written specifies the features that a chocolate cake must have, but it does not specify the precise tools or ingredients that must be used to bake it. The bakeries will say, okay, this chocolate cake, it must have a really delicious, rich and chocolatey taste. You must be able to cut it with your fork, and it must be, soft enough so that you can easily cut through it. You don't need a knife, and you don't need to eat it with a spoon, but you just have this delicious chocolate feeling as soon as you bite into it. But they don't say what kind of tools you need to use in order to bake this cake. So of course, having the right oven, the right mixer, and the right delicious cocoa powder is going to help you make a really good chocolate cake. But even if you have the best tools in the world, they do not guarantee that you will be able to achieve compliance with that standard. And so these GIFs are really funny. They're like showing little kids who are just making a huge mess when they're baking. It reminds me of baking with my kids when they were younger, just a huge mess everywhere. And This analogy is the core message that I want you to take away. That therefore, information management software offers you the best tools in the world for achieving compliance with these standards. But of course, if these tools are not used properly, compliance isn't guaranteed. So all the standards that we're going to talk about today, GDPR, DORA, and so forth, are standards that apply to a business. They are not standards that are specific to a software. So therefore, software is just a tool that businesses can use to help them achieve compliance. All right, so webinar is over. No, I'm just kidding. But that is the key message that I want you to remember again and again and again. Having said that now, and having said this disclaimer, let's talk about the security features first and therefore that are really important to achieving compliance. And then we'll talk about these standards in detail. Starting first with the security features, just some of the many, many features that therefore has to help you achieve compliance. The first is, of course, access controls. Access controls are a security mechanism used to manage and restrict user access to data and information. They are used to enforce the principle of least privilege, meaning that the users are only granted access to the resources they require to perform their job functions. Access controls can be implemented at various levels of an information management system, including the operating system, network, and application layers. They can be used to enforce different types of access, such as read-only access, write access, or delete access. They help prevent unauthorized access, data breaches, and other security incidents that can compromise the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. So that's very important. The way that we manage this is through the use of role-based access controls, RBAC. This is a type of access control system that restricts access to information based on the user's role within an organization, limiting users only to the information that they need to perform their job. Role-based access controls are beneficial as they reduce the risk of data breaches and help ensure that sensitive information is only accessed by authorized personnel. So permissions are set under role-based attributes, which can be refined by setting conditions to specific roles. So roles are a group of permissions that are put together with a given name and description, like the administrator, operator, reader, writer, etc. And then users are assigned to that role. And so this allows for a really granular permissions and ease of management in complex security environments. This works the same for both therefore online and therefore on-premises. It also works the same if you use an authentication framework like single sign-on to let users access therefore. And we have a whole e-learning course all about this where we show all different types of configuration with this RBAC. So if you want to learn more, definitely check out the e-learning course. We also have authentication, so therefore supports many secure authentication methods, including internal users and groups. These are within therefore only. It also works with single sign-on, in which case you use an account from an external service like Active Directory to log into therefore. Active Directory, Windows Local Directory, LDAP Samba, as well as external user directories such as Entra, which is formerly the Azure Active Directory, Okta, OneLogin, and generic OIDC. These need to be configured by an administrator before they can be used. So there's lots of options as well. Also very important for security is that the data in therefore is encrypted. So encryption is the process of converting plain text or data into a coded language to protect it from unauthorized access or interception. It's an important security mechanism used to prevent data breaches and protect sensitive data from being compromised. Encryption is used to secure data both when it's stored and also when it's in transit. Encrypted data can only be accessed and read by authorized parties who have the decryption key, which ensures the data is kept confidential. And therefore, data is encrypted both when it's in transit and when it's at rest, meaning transit is when it's being retrieved, like when you're retrieving a document. So encryption is handled a bit differently depending on how you're using therefore. As you'll probably know, there are two different options for therefore deployment. One is therefore online, in which therefore therefore manages your data. It's hosted in a Microsoft Azure data center. Or you can also have therefore on-premises, in which the server is hosted in your own premises and the customer is fully responsible for the server and the maintenance and backup and recovery. So therefore online, we do everything for you. It's in Microsoft Azure. Therefore on-premises, it's all done in the customer's own environment. So if you have therefore online, all your data is encrypted by default. All your information is encrypted at all times using some of the best encryption software that Microsoft has to offer. At rest, when your data is sitting in storage, we use Azure SSE to encrypt the data using 256-bit AES encryption. In transit, and while the data is being moving across the internet, it's encrypted using HTTPS and SMP 3.0. With therefore on-premise, it's a little bit different. This is because in this environment, the customer has full control over the storage and the media that the therefore system uses. This means they can also choose exactly what level of security and encryption they want to enforce for their data. The possibilities for therefore on-premise are truly endless. Oftentimes it's done by enforcing encryption with Windows EFS, which is the encrypting file system, or BitLocker. But on the other hand, oftentimes we also see that our customers are very secure with their data centers, with their servers, and it's not fully necessary to encrypt the data on their own server, especially if they have other security measures in place. Encryption would protect the data in case someone, like a rogue employee, would break into your server room and steal the hard drives and connect them to another computer. But in general, on-premise customers maintain tight control over their servers and network environment, so encryption isn't always necessary. So it's optional for on-premises systems. But of course, therefore online uses encryption by default, just like any hosted service should. Backup and recovery is also really important. This is what happens. So backup just refers to that we have a backup for your data in case the primary storage fails or something happens. And how did you get to that backup is the process of recovery. So therefore provides native out-of-the-box capabilities for backing up the information in the system. All therefore systems, regardless of deployment method, have primary and backup storage options. And then once configured, the system takes care of moving the documents from primary to backup storage. And documents are never kept in the database, but rather on separately defined storage. This, of course, is all done by default and automatically for therefore online. But customers who have therefore on-premises systems get to define their own primary and backup storage, and they also get to set up their own migration policies, meaning how often is data moved. It's highly customizable, and they allow administrators to decide exactly which information is stored where. Let me just quickly check my questions here. And so, yes, I will also transcribe the meeting and send over. It will be posted on YouTube later today. For online environment, can we somehow get proof that the backup is working? We have, if you go to therefore online, status.thereforeonline.com, you can have a live view of what's happening with the data centers. And you can also sign up on status.thereforeonline.com to get updates about the data center. So that's probably the easiest way. But if you have any doubts or any more information requests, contact support@therefore.net or our support portal for any further questions. But yeah, we do have live monitoring for our Azure data centers. So for therefore online, in regards to backup and recovery, it's designed to be highly redundant, multi-layered with a recovery system in place. So all customer data in therefore online is backed up in the data center. Data is copied to multiple disks. So if one disk or even multiple disks fail, customer data remains intact in the data center. And customer databases are stored in SQL Azure with redundancy systems handled by Microsoft's strict uptime and availability processes. So all data in Therefore Online is protected with both locally redundant storage, which is LRS, and GRS, which is globally redundant storage. So there's a local data center and then there's a backup data center. And if you look at any of our presentations about the various data centers we always have primary and backup storage in two different cities that are quite far apart from each other. So even if there was a horrible natural disaster and one data center was like wiped out, you would still have a backup somewhere else. So this globally redundant enabled storage, GRS, guarantees that data remains protected even in the case of a complete regional outage or disaster in which the primary data center is not recoverable. And so this means if you have Therefore Online, you don't have to worry about backing up your data. Every scrap of data in the system, whether it's a file, index data, configuration, is backed up automatically for you. If you have Therefore on-premises, meaning your server is handled by yourself, you do need to define your backup media. You need to define migration, and this is something that's really, really important to do. It's not complicated to configure, but you just have to do it. And it's covered in detail in this on-premise course, which I created along with Rumen. And if you go through the on-premise course, you will hear me say the most important information again and again and again. Create your primary and backup storage on separate physical media. Do not leave your documents in the buffer. Make sure that you configure it. So everyone, if you are working with a customer or you're a customer yourself, you have an on-premise system, make sure you have primary and backup storage configured and a migration schedule set in place. Once you've got that, it's going to be working in the background, no problem at all. We also have the security e-learning course here where we talk about all of the security features and the role-based access control. So go check that out as well. And we also have another webinar where we go over all of the security features in Therefore in even more detail on our YouTube channel. Just type in security in our YouTube, Therefore TV, and you'll get this webinar here. But I don't want to continue talking about just security features because we also have a lot of compliance to talk about. And so I'm going to move on to talking about the compliance and the most interesting part of this webinar. I got another question here, and it says, is it possible for Therefore Online to use an antivirus service? It already does use an antivirus service. So Therefore Online has the best security features, including antivirus and anti-tamper measures as well. Good. So now that we've briefly covered some of the many security features in Therefore, let's shift gears and talk about some of the standards and regulations these features can help businesses comply with, starting with a big announcement about our own compliance, which is that Therefore has recently achieved the ISO 27001 certification. So this is the internationally recognized standard for information security management. Therefore was evaluated by CIS, which is the Certification and Information Security Services, a third-party auditor accredited by the Accreditation Austria. This certificate was issued on March 5th, so at the beginning of this month, and the certificate states that Therefore Corporation has been audited and their effective information security management system is in accordance with the requirements of the international standard of ISO 27001:2022. So what is this and why is it significant? First of all, ISO is the International Organization of Standardization. So it's independent and non-governmental. So this is actually really interesting because it's an organization that applies globally. And the standards that it creates are global standards that apply and can be used by businesses all around the world. So having this certification is something that is interesting for anyone who wants to ensure that Therefore Corporation has security processes for managing information security. The ISO 27001 standard is the leading information security standard, and it provides organizations with a structured framework to safeguard their information assets and their information security management system. it is something that gives customers also confidence that their data is handled with the utmost care. And one thing that's really interesting is that when we want to achieve this standard, we spoke together with the auditors, and we had to define what parts of the business are going to be included. What should they look at? To put it bluntly, we included everything related to Therefore Corporation. So I copied and pasted the text from our information security management system on the slide. So this was what was submitted to the auditors. But basically, we included everything, including the design, planning, development, quality assurance, support, and operations that deliver Therefore Online and Therefore Corporation products. So everything is now certified to be information handling with security. And our auditors were extremely impressed by the breadth that was included in the audit, and they were actually really impressed by what was accomplished. This achieving this certification is no small feat. It was the result of hard work over a year of very hard work, which was carried out by Peter Sarlos and Emma Pendlebury. And they really worked tirelessly to ensure that we have systems in place to safeguard information. And this certification is really about the way that Therefore Corporation as a business handles information security. And it is something that we're incredibly proud of. It was, like I said, took a very long time, a lot of hard work. So why is it important? It's crucial for businesses. It helps protect sensitive information, reduces the risk of data breaches, and ensures compliance with legal and regulatory requirements. It can also boost customer trust by showing that we as a company have a commitment to safeguarding data and maintaining high security standards. So it's something that we're incredibly proud of. So yeah, it's great news that we're able to share this with you today. Any other questions here? Let's see. Can we share the new 271 certificate with our customers during an audit to help prove the tool is compliant? We have received a copy of the certificate, but we're not supposed to distribute it to others, including third parties. But we can, if you do need to have a verification that we have this certificate, please reach out to us and we will make sure that you have something that you can share with your customers just to boost their confidence. Yeah, so. Good. Then I got some more questions about Therefore Online antivirus. I don't have the exact name of everything in my head at the moment, but if you send me an email, I'll go back through our white paper. We also have a white paper on Therefore Online and security, and I do believe all that information is contained there. So, guys, thank you for your questions. And I think that concludes the section on ISO 271. So let's move on to another key standard, which is the GDPR. So the GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulations. It went into effect in May 2018, so it is a bit older. And it's a set of regulations intended to protect personal data in the EU and European Economic Area. And many other countries adopted similar laws, including Brazil, Japan, Singapore, South Africa, Thailand, and California. So even if you do not live within the EU, you are likely to still be affected by the GDPR or similar laws to the GDPR. So the GDPR protects personal data. What is this? It's any information that relates to an individual. So it could be anything that can help identify you, your name, address, phone number, physical description, health conditions, whatever. And it includes paper and electronic information. It includes photos, videos, so really basically anything. On top of that, the GDPR gives certain rights. So it demands that in order to collect information from EU data subjects, users must opt in and consent to how that data will be used. So that's why you also see all those pop-ups when you open up a website saying, can we collect cookies about you? And with mailing lists also, that's also something that you have to send for yourself, and it's also been a lot easier thanks to the GDPR to unsubscribe from mailing lists. I know that's something that I've noticed. But there's also other principles as well. So the following principles must also be respected. The first is the right to access. People have a right to access their own personal data. They have a right to request the erasure of their personal data, so they can say, please delete any personal data you have about myself. Data should also be handled in a secure manner, so it should be encrypted. It should not be stored for longer than absolutely necessary. It must be handled in a way to protect privacy. And there must be a data protection officer to monitor internal GDPR compliance. And the controllers must be able to demonstrate their efforts to comply. And at all times, appropriate security standards must be followed. So this is a very broad and very sweeping set of legislations. What exactly does Therefore have to help you comply? First, we have encryption, as we mentioned earlier. All data stored in Therefore is encrypted, which is exactly what the GDPR requires. We can use workflows within Therefore to manage data requests. So if a person requests their data to be erased or requests access to their personal data, we can set up workflows in Therefore to ensure that those requests are complied with within a timely manner, which is also a GDPR requirement. We can securely manage access, so we can ensure that the data is handled with the utmost care, as the GDPR states, and we have role-based access control to ensure that only people who absolutely need access to that data have it. We also have audit trails, which provide visibility of who accessed which data at what time, also within the GDPR. And finally, it's very easy to set up retention policies, and Therefore which will delete information after a certain amount of time. So after the legally mandated time for keeping that information has expired, the retention policy can be set to delete that data out of the Therefore system, ensuring further compliance. I also have some more examples of ways that Therefore features can help achieve GDPR compliance. The first is using e-forms and workflows. So workflows in Therefore can be used to ensure data access and data deletion requests related to the GDPR are processed in a timely and complete manner. An e-form can be used to start the process and gather data related to the data access or deletion request. So in preparation for this webinar, I went on to the EU website for the GDPR, and I actually found a sample form that they had made for a data deletion and data access request, and it was just a PDF. It actually was two separate PDFs. I took the content from those PDFs and I transformed them into an e-form. And instead of just having two PDFs, I have one single e-form that changes depending on your answers. So really, really efficient. And the text in my sample e-form here is exactly the same text that was on the EU website. And you can see I also made a workflow. The workflow is incredibly easy. So it starts when a data access request is received through the e-form. The user receives an email confirming the request was received. Then we have a manual request to send the user their information. And then if the user wants to have that information deleted, it's deleted. So very simple task and very simple workflow, but it is a good example of how Therefore could help you achieve compliance with the GDPR. If I have enough time at the end of this webinar, I can show you the e-form and show you how it was configured, because in my heart, I do e-learning, so I love to teach you how to configure things. So let's see if we can get through this in time, and then I can show you the e-form. And if not, I can send you the XML file if you guys like. So of course, we also have audit trails in Therefore where you can see who accessed what document at what time. You can see here all of the document events very clearly. So that's also a really good way how to help you achieve compliance. And then retention policies, you can see when are these records deleted. You create a retention policy for a category, and then you say when the documents should be deleted, after how much time. And furthermore, if all of these features by themselves aren't enough to convince you, Therefore was actually audited by an independent audit company, Abner Stoltz, and they confirmed that Therefore software meets the specifications of privacy by default and privacy by design, confirming that it's an excellent tool for businesses looking to comply with the GDPR. Now we got some more questions here. Now, all right, so got lots of nice, okay, we'll do, I'm going to move on to a couple of GDPR misconceptions, because this is something that I know when I first read about the GDPR, I was a little bit overwhelmed and confused. Because personal data is like everything. And so my first thought was like, oh, do you have to delete invoices and like contracts and things, because that also contains personal data. But here's the information. In Article 26, it says companies do not need to delete personal data if the erasure would adversely affect the freedom of expression, contradict a legal obligation, act against the public interest in the area of public health, scientific or historical research, or prohibit the establishment of a legal defense or exercise other legal claims. So here's my question is, I'm going to launch a survey here. A customer requests that their data is deleted from an online shop. The business has their name, address, and phone number on file as part of their financial records. Does the company need to delete their data? All right, there should be a poll on screen here. And you're right. Oh, I'm getting it. I'm getting answers. Okay, come on, everyone. Answer. And we're going to end the poll because we are. Let's share the results here. And most of you got it right. So here's the thing. The business must still keep the customer's invoices, order or delivery notes containing the customer name and address, because they have a legal obligation to keep those invoices, right? The business would, however, have to delete information about the customer's marketing preferences or mailing lists. 62% of you guys said invoices and other financial data still need to be kept, and 38% of you says all personal data, including invoice data, needs to be deleted. So that's not true. Invoice data is a legal obligation. You can't just delete it just because a customer requests. All right, so let's move on to the next one, because this is really interesting. Example 2, you joined a gym and you filled out a questionnaire about your health and fitness. Now you quit the gym membership and you want the gym to erase your personal information. What needs to be erased? What legal obligation does the gym have? Let me launch the poll again here. All right, there's another one here. All right, can you guys see it? And so the options are 1, all personal data needs to be deleted. And number 2 is the training records and personal health records should be deleted. Financial records can continue to be kept. What do you guys think? And I don't see any more answers coming in. So I'm going to end the poll again. And let's share the results. So the answer is that the training records related to your health and fitness, what kind of training regimen you want to do, that's personal information that the gym should delete. However, in the invoice data, your payment transactions, again, that gym has a legal obligation to keep their financial records for a certain amount of time. Those do not need to be deleted under the GDPR. So in my case, invoice data needs to be kept for 7 years, but of course it's whatever the legal requirements are in that country to keep invoice data. All right, next example. A newspaper publishes an article about a local politician who has embezzled millions of euros from taxpayers and funneled the money into an offshore account. The politician has requested the newspaper to delete the story about him, citing his rights within the GDPR. He says, You can't publish that story about me, that I embezzled all this money and, bought myself a fancy yacht in the Cayman Islands. I have a right to my privacy. Does the newspaper have to delete this story about this corrupt politician? Let's launch the So remember, okay, we got some answers coming in. What do you guys think? Does the GDPR provide a full right to privacy for this corrupt politician, or does the newspaper still have a freedom to report on this corrupt individual? We'll end the poll now, and I think 96% of you guys got it right. The answer is the newspaper has a right to publish the story due to the freedom of expression and the need to protect the public interest. So publishing this story about the corrupt politician is in the public interest. The newspaper can continue to publish it even though the politician loses a bit of his privacy, right? Sorry, there we go. Now we're showing the right one. Great. And now example 4. This one I don't have a quiz for because the answer isn't as clear. The example 4 is a user in an online training platform requests their data to be erased. The training platform has saved their course logins, test results, and billing information. The platform has also saved their IP address and has their user data as part of aggregate statistics. What do you guys think should be deleted? What can be kept? Now this is the most tricky example of all the 3 that we have. And it's one that's obviously doesn't have as clear of an answer. What do you guys think? Can you type, anybody here wants to be brave and type their answer into the Q&A? I'll share. What do you guys think here? In this example, number 4, what do you think? What needs to be deleted? I don't see any people typing anything here. All right, should I just share the answer? Oh, one person has shared something, let's see. Private data should be deleted. Yeah, what is private data? That's the question. So, only finance info must be kept. That's correct. Everything except for the financial records. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky. And the article that I found is individual training records should be erased. They can keep anonymized and aggregate information as it cannot be easily attributed to an individual and their invoices can also be kept. So you guys also got that right. So for example, aggregate information could be, they could say in 2024, 350,000 people trained with us on our platform. So that's anonymized and aggregate information. That would be okay. IP addresses is a little bit of a tricky thing. It can be kept in cases where it would be necessary for security, for example, to prevent hacking or blacklisting. Let's say an individual was not following the terms of service, and so they've blacklisted that individual because they were being aggressive or otherwise harmful to other users, and so they want that IP address to be blacklisted to prevent future incidents. So this is a little bit of a gray issue. But I think in general, you guys understood the GDPR and the limits that it has. In general, companies are still obligated to keep their financial and legal records. But as soon as that legally mandated period for keeping them expires, they should delete those records. So I think you guys have a really good understanding. Thank you guys for participating in these questions and quizzes. I hope it wasn't too boring. Now I have 2 more small sections, and then we have some more time. If you guys want, I can then show you the e-form. So next one is DORA. This is the Digital Operational Resilience Act. It's an EU regulation aimed at strengthening the IT security and operational resilience of financial entities. So it's enforced by the European Union, and it's used to ensure financial sector firms can withstand, respond to, and recover from ICT-related disruptions. And it's really for all financial entities. And basically, the DORA requires strong IT risk management. They must assess, document, and mitigate cyber risks. So do what they can to prevent hacking. They must report any incidents they have. And companies must oversee all critical external providers, and they must regularly test their systems to ensure they can withstand cyber threats. So having a very strong document management and good workflows in place to do this kind of reporting, such as the tools that Therefore has, and having a very robust security system with encrypted data, again, Therefore is a fantastic tool for businesses who need to comply with DORA. Another even newer standard that we have is the NIS2, the Network and Security Directive. This is in relation to cybersecurity requirements for critical infrastructure. This requires that businesses who have 50 or more employees with an annual turnover of 10 million euros or more, or small companies in high-risk sectors like energy, transport, healthcare, digital infrastructure, they must have good systems in place to prove that they are doing what they can to have excellent cybersecurity. If a cybersecurity attack occurs, they must report these incidents to national authorities within 24 hours of detection, with a full report due in 72 hours. And so, of course, Therefore also is a great set of tools that businesses who need to comply can use. Therefore can play a really crucial role by streamlining processes, enhancing security, and keeping proper records. So we have information security and access control, as we already said. We have centralized storage, therefore keeps all the sensitive documents, security policies, incident reports in one secure location. We have role-based access control to ensure that only authorized personnel can access, edit, or share critical information, which is the core NIS2 requirement. We have audit trails. We have risk management and policy enforcement. We can store and manage security policies. We have version control and automated workflows to help trigger alerts and approvals for incident reports. Plus, we have these audit reports, and we have really good backup and recovery of all the data. So in sum, Therefore really has the best tools possible that any business around the world could use in order to help achieve compliance with these regulations and others. Now, 42 minutes. Are you guys still in the mood to see the e-form real quick? Let's see what the Q&A says. Need to leave for another meeting. Very interesting. I haven't bored you guys yet. Okay, I'm glad to hear it. I was worried this would be too long and too boring, but I'm glad to get I'm getting positive feedback. All right, so here on the screen, you can see my e-form. So this here is text. This, like I said, I copied and pasted this directly from the EU website. And we'll see here. We'll type in email, and then we have here this question: are you the data subject? And it says, if I say yes, I'm the data subject, I can go on to the next. And if I say no, I'm acting on behalf of somebody else, then I can enter the details of the data subject who I'm requesting the data for. But let's just say yes so that we can move on, because a lot of these are mandatory fields. So you can see here, they're asking me to upload a proof of identity, which was also part of the example here. We also have upload a proof of address to prove where we live. And here you can see I'm using this wizard form where we have all this information on different panes. And then next we have specify what you want. By filling out this form, you're requesting access to your personal data. If you select yes, we will also delete your data after sending it to you. So I've condensed this into just one form because I didn't think it was very efficient to have two separate forms for data access request and data deletion request. So then you can say, yes, I want the data to be deleted. And then we have this reason for erasure with these check marks here. And again, these options were taken directly from the GDPR website here. And then next, I also have this little control button here where we can add information why does this data request, why is this data need to be deleted? What do we think, why does this person think the data should be deleted? And it says providing the URL for each link you wish to remove would be helpful. So again, this is text that comes directly from the GDPR. And then upload any documentation supporting the need to delete your personal information. So again, this is exactly as it was on the GDPR's website. And then finally, there's a declaration with a signature. In terms of configuration, this is I gotta log back in. You guys can see here, I already have the beta tenant for 2025. You can see it's been a little bit changed. I can go to edit mode like that. So I think that's a great enhancement. So it's a little sneak peek for you guys of 2025, some of the new enhancements. So it's looking good. And we have this here. I use these panels to make it easier to have the data, these questions hidden and only come up if the condition has been met. I'm using a wizard form. And something else that I wanted to share with you this year, this is a text box. And if you scroll down here to the text area, if you scroll down here, the CK editor, this is the one that gives you all these really cool editing tools for users. So I'm not sure if you've seen that before, but I thought it fits really well in this eForm. Yeah. If you guys want me to send you the XML file for this, please let me know. I'll be happy to share it. Anyways, that is the end of the webinar. My closing thoughts, therefore, provides superior tools for managing the security, access, and legal compliance for businesses around the world. And I have a lot of questions, so let me just quickly read through them. Go for it, okay. Please email me because as soon as I close the webinar, the Q&A is hard to access. All right, I got a lot of good. I don't see any questions right now that I need to answer. Please email me if you want me to share my configuration for that eForm. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for your participation, all of your questions, all of your answers to my quizzes. I hope this was not too long and boring. I know I've gone over almost an hour, but once again, have a wonderful day. The next webinar will be end of April with the development team to talk about the experts update for 2025. So stay tuned, make sure that you sign up for the newsletter and say that you're interested in technical events if you're interested in being invited to the experts update for 2025. In that case, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for spending the morning or the afternoon with me. And I look forward to seeing you in the next webinar. Bye-bye.